Hello everyone. First of all, congratulations for passing your level 1 examinations. So we'll just go through a very quick overview in terms of transitioning from level 1 to level 2, as in with respect to the changes, because you already have a lot of idea in terms of how the exams take place and what the subjects are and everything. But let me go through a very quick overview in terms of what change you're going to encounter as you move forward from level 1 to level 2 curriculum. After that, we'll see in detail on a chapter-wise basis with respect to the syllabus and preparation and everything. So let me just give you a quick overview on that. So, excuse me. First of all, we'll start with the syllabus. So when you're looking at the subjects, the content in terms of the subjects is going to be identical. So the same subjects are there. When you're looking at the content, every single subject is going to be enhanced. Enhanced in the sense you are going to be moving forward, and there is going to be a lot more that you're going to be studying with the same subjects. Now the point over here is going to be that when you're looking at these subjects, for example, ethics is going to be the same. But when you're looking at derivatives, your entire level 1 derivatives is understood, that you understand, you know the entire content very, very clearly. Because if you do not understand call options, put options, forwards, futures and all, you will not be able to study level 2 content. Say for example, if you do not understand the quants, time value of money, etc. of level 1, you will not be able to move forward with your level 2 content, because the subjects are same. We are going to be building up on the concepts on the base, because in level 1, you are being introduced to the subject. In level 1, it is absolutely immaterial as to whether you're from an economics background, commerce background, science background, engineering background, etc. It is finance. So you were being introduced and a basic foundation was being built with respect to all the subjects. Now we are going to be taking it much forward. So there will be a lot of interconnectedness relationship with respect to level 1 content. I'll come to those specific questions that if my level 1 is not that great, then how do I go about it? But let me first complete this part. So the content is going to be enhanced. You're going to be building up on the concepts of level 1. So the subjects are going to be moving much forward as compared to what you've already learned in level 1. Second part is with respect to weightage. So weighted subjects are the same, but the weightage changes. For example, equity gets a relatively higher weightage. Equity is going to get a relatively higher weightage. We'll see the weightages and all in the next slide. Next, when you're looking at the difficulty level of level 2 as compared to level 1 and as compared to level 3. Now what happens is when you're comparing it with level 1, the difficulty level of level 2 is going to be much higher. It is going to be much higher when you're comparing it with level 1. But when you're comparing the difficulty level of level 3 with level 2, it is going to be more or less similar. So the difficulty level is not so much of a change when you move from level 2 to level 3, but as you move from level 1 to level 2, you will find the difficulty level to be increasing relatively significantly. Now there are two different ways of looking at it. In level 1, the difficulty used to be that you are being introduced to new subjects, new topics, new concepts, like you may not have studied derivatives ever in your life, or a portfolio ever in your life, the CIPM formula, or the forward futures pricing, or the option strategy, call options, put options, you do not know about it, or the hypothesis testing and all. Now what is happening is the familiarity aspect is not a problem, because you're moving from level 1 to level 2, you already have a basic idea about all the subjects and topics. Right, now since you're going to be scaling up to a level 2 curriculum, obviously the difficulty level of topics is going to be higher. You've studied, for example, pension accounting in FRA. Now that is going to come at a little difficult level. Now when you're looking at time value of money, we don't have a chapter on time value of money, but you're using time value of money calculations all throughout whenever you're doing any money related calculations. In derivatives, you were learning call put, you used to be confused. Now you are absolutely 100% clear, because obviously you've cleared the exam, you've studied, revised and worked hard on it. Now you'll be using call and put options and valuation of those options, etc. So the difficulty in terms of you're moving up in terms of content, difficulty is not going to be in terms of length. It's not going to be lengthier. I'm going to come to it. The volume is not increasing. The volume when you're looking at level 2 curriculum, it is similar to level 1 curriculum. The problem will not be with respect to the extent of syllabus, expanse of syllabus, or even in terms of the familiarity part. So familiarity part was an issue in level 1 because you're grasping new concept, but in level 2 it is just that the level of difficulty as compared to level 1 curriculum goes up. So it is not that you will have to study double the time or something. In fact, the study hours that you need for level 2 is absolutely very, very similar to level 1. Right, the practice hours have to be increased. We are going to see that also as we move forward. And level 2, level 3, what happens is in level 3, we have a few subjects removed, like quants is out, FRA is out and all. and the subject becomes more application based. So the difficulty level does not increase, but you are holistically, whatever you've learned together, you try to apply that in real world when you're looking at level 3, and the component of portfolio increases. So anyways, that is not the important part right now, but you're understanding the transition from level 1 to level 2. So familiarity wise, since you already have the basics right, it's good. And that is the reason why in level 1 I take a little more time in order to explain the basic concepts, and we focus that your foundation has to be very good, because in level 1 I'm not just preparing you for level 1, I have to prepare you for level 2 also. You will need duration for level 2. Level 1 you study duration, level 2 for maybe different kinds of bonds and different situations we are analyzing duration. So the concepts have to be very, very thorough, right? That is the reason why I always keep on focusing on the fact that level 1 has to be extremely, extremely well prepared. So that is with respect to difficulty level. Numerical and formula orientation, I would say that level 2 and level 1 is fairly balanced in terms of numbers, numericals or formulas and all. And you've also seen that in level 1, although there could be a lot of formulas in certain chapters, but the questions could be non-numerical. So a numerical based chapter, for example, let's say I would take, let's say, a FRA. So financial reporting analysis, if I pick up a financial analysis technique, it is possible that you need to know the ratio, but the question could be more about the analysis of the ratio. So the question does not mean you have to do some mathematical calculation. It could be a concept based question also. So level 1 was relatively more numerical as compared to level 2, but not too much. Level 2 is also fairly, we have good amount of numbers and all, slightly lesser as compared to L1, but as compared to L3, L2 is much more numerical. L3, the numerical component goes down significantly, because L3 will be more of analysis. We have topics like behavioral finance and all that. So we understand the content of level 3 I'll separately discuss in level 3 class. But the point is that it is relatively slightly less numerical, not much of a difference, because in level 1 you had to study time value of money and discounted cash flows and all of that. Discounted cash flow, IRR, NPV, you have to know all these concepts and the calculation part of it. But now what happens is the calculation NPV IRR becomes a part of the sum. L1 NPV IRR used to be one question, but in L2 now NPV IRR is a part of the question, and on that you build on and answer something around NPV IRR, analyze that, use that as an input in your question. So that is why I was saying that we are building up. So slightly L2 is slightly less than L1, otherwise it's more or less similar. Confusing, I think it is going to be almost similar only, because in level 1 the confusion happens because of you're new to the topic, to the subject altogether. In level 2 the content is a little difficult. It's not that difficult that it is going to be a challenge for you to manage and all. It is going to be a little difficult. That is why it is probably confusing, and especially with respect to forex and all. When you do calculations like swaps and all, the valuation of swaps comes in derivatives. When you do calculations using forex rates in derivatives, when you use spot rate, forward rates and all, then you do numbers and calculations around that. So you're kind of moving beyond level 1 curriculum and level 1 level of difficulty. So that is why it becomes a little confusing at times. So your concepts, your base again has to be very, very strong. With respect to volume, again I told you it's similar, we've already written that. With respect to level 1, of course level 1, as I told you, I'm going to give you a very brief idea about the different subjects also on a subject wise basis. But see, in level 1 what used to happen was, there used to be a problem that if I'm studying, let's say, a callable puttable bond, and so fixed income, you have to know a little bit of derivatives. When you're doing derivatives in terms of discounting and all, you need to know a little bit of fixed income. So there is a lot of interrelationship. I need to know time value of money to do fixed income. CAPM formula, RF plus RM minus RF beta, is used in corporate finance also, in the cost of equity chapter. It is used in portfolio also, risk return part 1 and 2. We actually derive the formula, and again in equity, when we are doing the discounting rate, we are using it as KE, required return on equity, RE. So in that regard, in L1, you cannot do too much of jumbling, and I give you an order of study in all the levels, and you have to strictly follow that. In level 2, the dependency between one chapter of L2 and another chapter of L2 is relatively less. There are certain chapters, like in fixed income and derivatives, there is one chapter related, where the option binomial Black-Scholes-Merton model, and that is required in one of the fixed income chapter. So 2-3 chapters here and there could be a little interrelated, but otherwise it's not that one chapter is related to the other in level 2 curriculum. So in level 1, the subjects, you are kind of interrelated, so you have to be very strict with the order of study that I provide to you. But in level 2, that is not so much of a challenge. But L1 base is what you are going to build upon, and I'll discuss on a subject wise basis. So not a problem. base important. And when you're looking at the interesting level, so students again, they want things interesting, they do not want to be bored and dozed off and all. So it is as interesting as level 1, maybe even more. Some students find it a little less interesting, but mostly what I've seen is students are very, very interested and they're enjoying thoroughly the curriculum, because they're enjoying in fact rather a little more, because now you have all the basics right, and you feel happy when I know all the call options, put options, I know hypothesis testing, I know the basics, mean, median, mode and all, and I'm moving much, much beyond that. And that is the reason why even recruitments and all get better after level 2. Level 1, post level 1, it is not a major criteria, but post level 2 actually it becomes quite good. But again, when we're looking at India, for example, generally when you're looking at openings and all, it is for the qualified individuals. More openings are going to be for qualified individuals. But even after level 2, now it gives you a kind of a tangible idea to the recruiter that you have a good, decent knowledge about finance. So that is so the interesting part, the content is quite interesting, not a problem. Level 3, some students find it a little boring because the number content goes down, numerical content goes down, it is more of application. So you're learning how to apply all that you have learned. So maybe the newness in the content is a little low. So, and the number actually more, it's not about the newness, because the content is obviously new, you're still building and moving forward. But the problem that I see is that number crunching is a little lower in case of level 3, and that is why, so level 1, level 2 very, very interesting. Level 3, some students find it a little less interesting, but those who start applying and start connecting it to the economy and the markets and the news and businesses and all, they enjoy level 3 curriculum equally or even more. So that is about the interesting quotient. So this is broadly as good as similar to L1. Next we move to a subject-wise level. So basically ethics is going to be the same. You have the same 7 standards. Gibbs is not there as compared to level 1. Same 7 standards. I'm going to be discussing the syllabus in a detailed lecture separately. I'm just giving you an idea in terms of L1, L2 comparison. I'm not doing a chapter-wise analysis right now. That I'll discuss in syllabus separately. When you're looking at quants, we are going to be moving beyond. So we are going to be doing more of regression. So we'll be moving beyond it. But obviously you cannot say that I don't understand standard deviation or hypothesis and all. One very common question that I have is that I did not study hypothesis in level 1, or I was very bad at hypothesis in level 1. And therefore, can I manage level 2? Hypothesis, maybe 1 or 2 LOSs. The application of hypothesis will be there. Otherwise, it is not going to be like a full chapter on hypothesis or so. And that too, a very basic question on hypothesis is required. Like how to reject or fail to reject an H0HA. Just that much application in a couple of places. It's not that you have a full-fledged chapter on hypothesis over here. Economics again is going to be beyond, but it is going to be less in content. This is also going to be less in content. As in the volume of content is going to be relatively lower, and economics is more focused on the international economics. Corporate finance is going to be increasing in terms of content, and it is again going to be beyond. So beyond means your basics is also included. So corporate finance, you can't say NPV, IRR and all I don't understand, or cost of capital I don't know, or capital budgeting I don't know. You don't have the right to say that. So it is going to be building upon the concepts. Economics, we may not be using demand supply and all so much, but we are going to be using currency and international currency calculations over here. And quants obviously needless to say, time value of money, IRR, NPV, mean, median, mode, standard deviation. Kurtosis, skewness, maybe will not be looking at it, or very difficult hypothesis, those difficult questions we are not looking at it, just a basic H0, HA, reject, fail to reject kinds. FRA is again going to be beyond, but not too much of base is required. Maybe only the ratio analysis is going to be required, and in terms of content, I would say it is going to be relatively lesser, very slightly less because it is quite difficult. This is the difficulty level, this is the length, and this is the difficulty level. Difficulty level of FRA is going to be quite high, and even with respect to quants it is going to be high. Economics also it is going to be little higher, not too high. Corporate finance it's okay, but a little higher because in L1 corporate finance was quite easy. Equity again is going to be beyond. So in equity, you used to learn DDM, FCFF, etc. in one chapter. Now we have one chapter on DDM, one chapter on cash flow valuation, relative valuation, residual income. So different. And the content is going to be higher, much higher. When you're looking at derivatives, it is going to be again beyond. And the whole thing, the whole base is going to be included. The entire L1 of derivatives is required over here in order to understand. Equity, for example, you don't need the entire thing. DDM FCFF chapter itself will do. FRA, the entire thing is not needed. You know the basics of income statement, balance sheet and all, and you need to be very clear with the ratio analysis part, all the ratios and all. Other than that, not too much. Corporate finance also not too much. NPVRR basics you need to know. But when you're looking at derivatives, the entire derivatives is going to be required. The entire L1 is required, and then beyond that, the difficulty level is going to be quite high as compared to level 1. When you're looking at portfolio, just the CAPM part, the RF, RM minus RF beta, that basic efficient frontier concept and all is going to be required. Otherwise, it is totally new content, and the lengthwise it is quite a lot. Derivatives also lengthwise it will be more. Equity lengthwise it is quite a lot. Achha, this was difficult. Difficulty is not so much. Equity is good. You'll enjoy studying. And the derivatives lengthwise it is more. Portfolio lengthwise it is quite a lot more. Fixed income also it will be beyond. And the entire L1, at least in terms of what is mortgage-backed security, all the forward rate, spot rate, valuation of fixed income securities, and duration and all is totally required. And then we move beyond that. Length is going to be, I think, similar. I believe difficulty level, it is a little confusing, I would say. And when I look at alternate investment, of course, the length is going to be too much. We have around 5-6 chapters, 4-5-6 chapters or something. But the difficulty level is going to be more or less similar only, because you're building up on that. And it is, of course, it is going to be beyond. I assume that you have the basic understanding of what is commodity, what is real estate and all. Anyways, this is just to give you an idea, not to scare you. And we are going to be discussing the syllabus on a chapter-wise level as to what do we have later on in the syllabus lecture. Next, we move to the exam pattern. So it is going to continue to be a computer-based testing, just like your level 1 examinations are. So the computer-based testing continues. We have again the same 135 minutes time frame with respect to the examination. So 135 minutes and 135 minutes, 2 hour 15 minutes, that is basically broadly 2 hour 15 minutes. You have 44 MCQ. That is going to be a problem. The number of questions earlier, if you're looking comparing with level 1, it used to be 90. And if you're comparing, let's say the L2, what it used to be earlier used to be 60 MCQs on a paper-based format. Now it is a computer-based format and 44 MCQs, so number of questions has gone down. 44 MCQ again is going to be divided into 10 item sets. So in level 1, you used to have 1 MCQ, 1 question, 3 options, you answer, you're done. Of course, there is no negative marking and all that, you already know that. Now what happens is, the questions are going to be grouped. So say for example, this is an important change. So say for example, let's say you have an item set. So this is 2 pages worth of case study, divided into, let's say, 8-10 paragraphs and all. You have MCQ over here, and there are 3 options. So based on, let's say, the first 2 paragraphs, you answer question 1. Then you move to next question, which is based on the same case study, and based on the next couple of paragraphs, you answer question 2. And similarly, let's say each item set, we call this as an item set. Each item set is going to be having around 4 to 6 questions each. So 10 item sets, say for example, if each item set has 4 questions, then you will have 40 MCQs. But actually we have around 9, 10 or 11 item sets. Normally I would say 10 item sets. And each will have around 4, 5 or 6 MCQs, so that the total number of questions tested is 44 MCQs. So from 90 MCQs, you are going down to 44 MCQs as you move away from level 1 towards level 2. Number of questions have become half as compared to L1. Questions and same time. The duration is the same, but the number of questions becomes half. And still level 1 was not so much of a time management issue. Level 2 is going to become a time management issue. The difficulty level of questions is higher. The calculation intensiveness of questions is higher. The reading time required would be higher. I'm comparing the same computer-based testing of level 1 with level 2. So therefore, when I'm looking at level 2 curriculum, 44 MCQs in the first half and 44 MCQs in the second half, and there is an optional break in between, up to a maximum of 20-30 minutes or so. And each item set, so once your item set is over, once say for example 5 questions in first item set, the moment you go to question number 6, this item set will change. And then question 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is on the same item set. So the question will keep changing, the item set will be constant. After you're done with the second item set, third one will come over. It is not so much of a difficulty as students at times assume, because it is not that the entire item set is going to be used like one line over here, one line over there, and one line in the middle, and then you'll be able to answer questions. In most questions, what I've seen is that the first maybe a couple of paragraphs, question 1 is there. Then next couple of paragraphs, question 2 is there. So it is not like it is going to be jumbled up and all. So it is relatively okay. It's just that it is one case study. So you have to have it, you have to have an understanding that, cohesively you'll have to see this. Got it? So this is your computer-based testing, and 44 MCQ number of questions goes down. We move to an item set format. Right? We'll discuss more in exam strategy. With respect to issues of new format, one, there are less number of questions. It is almost half, 90 to 44 questions. Accuracy becomes a challenge. Earlier, if you used to mark one question incorrectly, you had 1 by 90 marks or percentage per question. This has now become to 1 by 44 marks per question. So earlier when you make one mistake, it is, let's say, 1.11% or so. But now when you make a mistake, it is almost a 2%, 2 point something percent is going to be your loss. So one question was earlier weighted 1%, 1.11, right? Now it is becoming 2%. So every single question becomes double the weightage. So that is why your accuracy is extraordinarily important. So how to prevent silly mistakes, not make these mistakes, approach of the question and all, that becomes very, very important. So the accuracy part is extraordinarily important in order to pass the exam. Extremely, extremely important. We'll have to work around this. In fact, all the students, those who have been with me in level 1 will understand, and level 2 students also, you have to know that there is an exam mentoring part I provide, in which we have the how to study and practice lecture. There is an how to attempt the exam lecture. How to study, how to practice, how to attempt the exam, how to use the calculator, and all those things are there. And then other than that also I've seen students are struggling, so how to focus, how to retain, and all those things we are doing. But how to attempt exam is the most important lecture that we do. And in that we'll be discussing that the accuracy becomes very important. So you have to be very careful with the tricks and all I tell you when we start. And there is no shortcut. When I'm saying tricks, please do not misconstrue me. I do not have anything to do with the institute. Disclaimer, please understand. And I do not have any knowledge about what question will come in the exam. There is absolutely nothing unethical. And there is no shortcut to cracking an exam, doing good in your jobs, in your career, in finance, in portfolios, in whatever field you're in. So I'm not trying to tell you any shortcuts, tricks in the sense that how to mark and how to make the answers, or how to, say for example, when you're practicing. So whenever you come up with a new trick or a new way of attempting a question or approaching a question, you write that separately. So all those things I'll teach you when we do the how to study and practice lecture. And how to attempt the exam, again, there is no shortcut to working around it. It's just that, which order to attempt and how to flag the questions and all. How there is a software demo, the software that you are provided with by the institute to attempt. So we'll do the demos provided by the institute, but on the demo we have a lecture as to how to go ahead with the exam exactly, in which order to attempt and all that. So that becomes very important. But anyways, right now you understand accuracy for level 2 is extremely, extremely important. Double the weightage for the marks. And level 3 also, 1/2 of the paper is MCQ. So just the way, so in level 1 you had 90 MCQs, 2 or 15 minutes, and same again in the second half. And now we have 44 MCQ. In level 3 what will happen? You will have a 44 MCQ session, and one session will be totally written answer. So you'll have to type the answers in level 3. We'll discuss that. But level 3, one part will be typed, one part will be 44 MCQ. So the weightage of questions has gone up. This is very important. Another thing you need to understand is the pass rate of level 2 is also somewhere around 40-45% or so. It keeps on varying over the years, but what you need to understand is this 45% is going to be not out of 100 people, but out of 40 people. So if 100 people take L1 exams, 40 pass L1, let's say. Out of those 45% people are going to pass level 2 exams. So you cannot be overconfident. I've seen students in level 1, they get a little overconfident. You are not allowed to make that kind of mistake. Do not get overconfident with this. You'll have to study, you'll have to practice. Also what happens is in level 1, practice is not that No, I wouldn't say not that important. Ethics and also obviously very important, but at times students with more experience or maybe with background knowledge or something, with less practice also, it is relatively fine to manage and crack the exam. But in level 2 that does not happen. So those who feel overconfident that in L1 I have managed the exam very easily, so L2 also I'll manage that same easily, it's not going to work. Because I told you the number of questions are half, still the time management becomes a problem in the exam. This is a problem in the exam. Difficulty level we've already discussed. The difficulty level of the questions is going to be going up quite a bit as compared to level 1. Level 1 was an introduction to the subjects, now you're moving beyond the subject. The content is also relatively difficult and the question level of difficulty in confusing part of the question is difficult. Obviously that is the reason I'm telling you, in L1 I did not say that you will have a time management problem with answering the questions, but in level 2 I'm telling you, you will have a problem in with respect to time management in answering the questions. Although you have double the time per question, still you will have time management problem. That is the reason I'm telling you this. Second, due to item set, of course a little bit, not much of a problem, but just a little bit. It's just about that you need to do a little bit of practice and get used to the format. Otherwise it is not a major problem. And also at times, people see and panic big questions. Maybe in one big table, suppose you have a long question, long item set, long case study, and there is one table in that item set. In that table you just need to take one value. So you will see big table, you will start panicking. So don't worry about it. The item set is not an issue so much. It is not increasing difficulty level or something. That would have been a problem if I have to read first line and last line would be used in order to answer one question. That does not happen mostly. Question 1 comes from here, question 2, question 3, question 4. So it's quite good that way. I mean, it's quite manageable that way. So item set, it is just about the habit part. Rest not an issue. When you're looking at time management, I told you that studying time is going to be similar. The problem is going to be with respect to exam. So time management tricks and all, speeding up in terms of exam and all is going to be required. Number crunching is going to be similar, but the point is that your questions are difficult. See, in L1, you calculate NPV, that is the answer. In L2, what happens? You calculate NPV, you calculate A, B, C, and then A, B, C, combining the three, you're going to get the answer. So it is going to be more calculations in the same MCQ. So the number crunching that way on a per question wise basis, it increases. Unpredictability, now what happens is the number of questions is kind of halved. But when you're looking at the content, as in terms of the length of the chapters and everything, it is more or less very similar as compared to level 1. So the same number of chapters, similar number of chapters, maybe a little less only, a few chapters less, but similar kind of extent of content and still less number of questions. That means the questions can come from anywhere. So you have to be very thorough with the curriculum, and from unexpected areas questions could come up. There is no selective studying and all that you could do. And I told you again, one question is double the weightage now. Double the weightage. So one question incorrect means 2% gone. In school and college what used to happen was we had 7-8 subjects and we had 700-800 marks worth of papers. One question or 1 mark would be 1 out of 800, but here it is 1 out of 44 or 1 out of 88 if you take the two papers together. So each question is very, very important over here. So number crunching is high. Unpredictability, it could come up from, the questions could come from anywhere. Right. Range for the subjects. So range for the subjects is again changing a bit. I told you equity is going to get a little more weightage, but the details of that is going to be done in the syllabus lecture. But range for the subjects is changing a little bit. The weightages are changing. So weightages have changed. And unpredictability is also decently high itself. Yeah. Next we are looking at the preparation strategy with respect to level 1. So when you are talking about studying the chapters, similar, especially when you are looking at lectures, you are going to take the same time. When you are looking at self-study, a little more maybe, even little less for some people, because see in L1 again I told you the familiarity is a problem. You do not know the subjects. In level 2 the difficulty level could be a little higher, so you could take a little more time, but in terms of length of the curriculum it is not longer. So according to me it is more or less similar. Lectures could be a little less only because you know the basics. So basics, it takes more time to explain the basics. Once you have the ABCD together, once you have the basics together, it becomes relatively easier. So lectures will be little less lecture hours, but when you're looking at the self-study part, maybe little more, or rather I should Personally, I would say it is going to be similar. Similar only again, when you compare if somebody is already studied level 1, as in somebody already had a little background of finance or economics and all, I'm not talking about that. You compare it like, say for example, when you're studying derivatives and portfolio, some new subjects and all, then the way you used to take time in level 1, level 2 is also going to take similar time for self-study. Difficulty level, I've told you it is going to be higher. So preparation level, that is why it could take a little more time. Practice is going to take more time. This is going to be more time consuming. And there is more amount of practice, so the importance of practice increases. So even if in L1, I've seen students practice very well in L1 and that is how it's supposed to be, but at times those who already have a very good background in finance with maybe studying a CA, MBA, etc., so they economics honors, engineers have an edge in quant, so depending on the subjects, but otherwise I've seen students practicing properly in level 1. That is how it is supposed to be done, and the question level of quality of questions is also good, but in level 2 the practice part takes more time and it becomes very important. You cannot do without practice, so that is going to be a little time consuming. So practice, the time, the approach of practice, how to go about with the practice. So I'll tell you, how to time yourself when you're practicing item sets and all those things I'll tell you, the tricks and how to make a tricks sheet, mistakes sheet. The questions could be a little confusing. I told you with, they combine forex and all is there and derivatives also. So the questions could be confusing in a lot of places. Even the non-numerical questions could be confusing. So how to approach them, the concept, the base has to be very, very strong. That is extremely, extremely important. Order of study, I've told you it is not going to be so much of a challenge. In level 1, you have to be very strict with the order of study. In level 2 also, my personal opinion is that please you follow the order that has been given to you and do not customize it, because I think about, retention, subjects with retention being an issue is pushed towards the end. Theory, practical, I try to alternate so that student does not get bored and all. Focus level will be required as very even higher, because the accuracy rates become higher and the difficulty level is more, and it is a little confusing when you're answering the question. So the focus level has to be even better as compared to L1, and you're answering item set questions. EQ has to be better because obviously your difficulty level is going up, and EQ, I've been talking about EQ and that approach and that the way to take an exam for a very long time, and now post COVID people have understood that EQ becomes so important. Tricky questions will be there. Distractor, I've told you, when you have an MCQ with options A, B and C. So if A is the correct option, B and C are not random options given. Whatever mistake you will make, whatever confusion you will have, whatever conceptual error you will make, and whatever wrong answer you could get, B and C would be those wrong answers. So out of 3 options, if one option is correct, the other 2 options are not random, they are distractors. They give you those answers which you are most likely to mark by making a mistake. So that is why again I'm telling you the concept, your base has to be very, very strong. With respect to the institute and registrations and all that, it is all the same, just that when you're looking at level 2 examination, so your L2 and your L1 and L2 examination has to have the examination has to have a 6 months gap. With computer based testing, we've got more cities, centers, scheduling window over a 1 week, 2 week period. So I've provided that mentor note also is given that, how according to your study plan and your lifestyle and everything, you should be choosing which slot for the exam if it is available. Passport fees, etc. We already know we need a passport, and obviously we've taken level 1 exam now, and registrations, deadline, etc. is available on the institute's website. I'm not discussing over here. The only thing is that after you've cleared level 1, so when you're taking level 2 examination, there has to be a 6 months gap. So it's either a February, August or a May, November, it has to be that way. So the schedule, the exam and exam term and all those things you can look at on the institute's website later. So this is more or less when you're transitioning from level 1 to level 2 curriculum. I'll discuss the syllabus and the preparation and the material and all that separately, but this is broadly the change when you're looking from level 1 to moving from level 1 to level 2. I hope this is all clear, and we'll discuss the syllabus part separately, the preparation and material part, preparation part separately, material part separately, and I hope this gives you a broad idea as to when you're moving from level 1 to level 2 curriculum.